Welcome back to the Insiders. Matt here again. Just a quick intro. I just wanted to say we are live on YouTube, and it would be sick if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got a giveaway coming up that is referencing our subscribers on there. So go and follow us on YouTube. But here's the latest episode. Myself and Daz talking about finals day.
My volume's probably not so good tonight. I'm in the attic,
Ah, okay, got ya.
like back in the day.
Like back in the day, back in the OG days. Jumping straight in. This is officially our last WSL podcast for a while. We are now wrapping finals day. It's over. I probably echo the thoughts of John and Katie when they both said they're kind of glad it's over. Now it's done. It was a fun day, but it's done. And yeah, first and foremost, before we dive in, how you doing, Daz?
I'm doing pretty good. So, are you categorically saying, and I don't believe you, that you've turned the back on the Challenger series?
No, you've caught me there. I'd say that this is our last dedicated WSL.
This is our last W. Yeah, this is our last dedicated 100%. We'll do 100%, or it is,
Yeah,
it's the it's the world, world champion edition.
yeah, exactly. And
WCE. Worcester.
yeah. And we will basically be giving our thoughts on the day and things, the rundown. And we kindly had one guy send us a message asking a question, which led me to prompt people about 4 hours ago to send us some messages. We actually had like quite a decent reply. Um, we had like over 15 people send us some questions, but a lot of them doubled up. So I've basically filtered them down to like 4 or 5 questions, which we'll go through.
Double dipping.
Yeah.
But
Um,
we can we can finish with the questions, can't we? Like just if
exactly.
we're on an official keynote uh
Well, and we might
talking
address them.
festival.
My thoughts is we might actually address them throughout because some of the questions we would probably be speaking about anyway. So, yeah,
I like your English use of the word address there.
there you go. Um, I'm not usually that vocationally um, enhanced, but somehow we managed to get that one out. Um, but what did you think of the overall day?
Well, to start with, I'm quite ashamed to admit that I woke up on the day quite excited because uh the forecast looked pretty obvious that it was going to run on the first day. So it was something to look forward to all the week. And then woke up on the day and actually looked like it was on. And then I quickly looked at the cams and I said to you, it kind of looks small. Did it pick up during the day?
I
Or is
guess
that just in my head?
I think it did at points. Um, there were, I mean, classic kind of ocean turn on, turn off type situations. Yeah, I thought for the start, I thought it was really funny. They done a morning report with Mick Fannin, and geez, he struggled to say that it was good. He was like, uh, yeah, it looks fun. Like, and I was just like, oh, I hadn't seen the cam at that point, and I was like, oh no, like he's not selling this that well. But
Am
yeah,
am I wrong in thinking, and is it because she's so short? But when Simmers was getting waves, they just looked insane. I guess that's because she's smaller. I don't know.
I did
Is
think,
it?
yeah, no,
Or did it pulse a little bit more for a few of those women heats?
I think it did. I think it pulsed for the two first final heats that Katie and Caroline were in, and the heat John and Idslow's first heat, they had some they had a lull, but then their second heat, they did have some decent waves roll through. I think through the day there was decent sets and decent. waves coming through. I do think like maybe body to size ratio of the wave does play a fact, but it definitely looked like that first final heat with the women, they look like the best waves of the day.
They honestly, that looked like the best waves of the day. It did look incredibly fun. It is an
Oh,
incredibly good wave. I mean, wow. How good would it be just as a normal how it used to be? Stop.
yeah.
Like as a tour stop instead of the final, which is gonna be interesting because if they go to Cloudbreak next year, they've already put the tour on, haven't they? And so Trestles goes from being the be all and end all to nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Poof.
And I know it's strange, isn't it? And they've got Abu Dhabi on, but um
When's Ubby Dubby?
in the middle of the year.
Hmm.
Um I think it's the first event after the cut, but there's rumors that the cut's going to go out to 7 events next year. So that might not be the case.
Well, they
Um,
do have 5 months to willy-nilly about this thing. So
yeah,
let's see what
yeah.
they come up
Um, my initial thoughts on finals day was that I was quietly excited, like you were. I'd say I'd shared that enthusiasm. Um, and my enthusiasm was was peaked when Ethan Ewan took off on his first wave, and then was very abruptly flattened after the first round of scoring. Because I and I want to go out and say like Italo, I thought was probably well, no, Italo was the best surfer until he faced John. I thought that he got lucky against Ethan, but I thought he absolutely waxed Jack Robbo, and I thought the Griffin heat could have gone either way. Um,
I
but
thought he waxed them. I thought he waxed them all and pretty well come close to, but we'll get to that. John. But if I mean they don't have an MVP, do they? And I don't even like to use that term. It sounds a bit shouldn't be stealing terms from other sports. But what was it? Man of the match was State of Origin.
yeah,
Um, what do you call it in a big soccer game?
yeah, it's man of the match. Yeah,
Man of the match. He was obvious for me. He was man of the match for the day.
yeah. I mean, I think that if he made the day way better than it was. Like he actually, and I feel for him that the judging was so bodged. Like they they bodged the judging against Ethan. They bodged the
Okay, so
scores.
how do you think they bodged the judge against Ethan? Do you think Ethan didn't win that heat?
I'm not. I think
He
that
did another wave. I thought he had the best.
yeah.
Honestly, that first wave he got, I mean, it wasn't bigger than John's layback, but it was still the best surfing I saw of the day. It's just a pity he didn't get a second wave that was steep and but more of a pity is that he sits there like a stale
I just think
bit of bread with Vegemite on it.
yeah. For me, this when I say about the bodging the judging, the scores is like they Ethan's first wave was an 8.33 and Italo's first wave was a 7.87, and there was easily a point different in those waves, not half a point, if not more. When you watch them
In
side
whose favour?
in Ethan's favor,
I
I
don't know.
it
Darlow pretty well stabbed that thing with speed, precision, and power from
just
go to whoa.
on those two waves, I just don't. I just for
Even
me,
though I would have put Ethan as a clear winner as well, because it's quality over quantity.
yeah. But then Italo's air in that heat, even though he did have an ugly exit out of it and stuff, I mean that is very, very hard to do. I personally don't like single maneuver waves. Like don't really think it's thing. But at the same time, like you can't deny he went real high and inverted and critical. So I don't necessarily think that Italo lost the heat. I just straight away was off on the judging, and it just got worse through the whole day. Um, the the heat against Griffin, Italo does the big air. He doesn't make it. It's a no make. He lands on his front leg doesn't land on the board, and he uses his arms to push himself back up on the board. You can see it, and they gave it a 7.3.
Oh yeah, the one that he kind of falls. Well, he did make it. It just wasn't a clean. It just wasn't a
No,
clean
he
reception.
he pushes himself back up off of his board with his hands. Like you can clearly
He
see
gets
it.
back up. He gets back up onto his board or not?
Yeah, but if he landed prone,
No
if like
buts.
how many
Did he
times we've
get back up?
seen someone get barreled and
Got to
then come
ride
back
out of the
prone?
wave. You got to ride out cleanly. Correct or
He
not?
Yeah, he didn't ride out. He fell and got back on his board. But regardless of that point, is they scored that wave a 7.3, I think it was. And then next wave, he done the exact same air, but landed it bolts super clean,
Yeah, that it was.
and they
It
gave him
was.
an 8. And I was
It
like,
was. It
it.
was one.
And then obviously they bodged John's first score, and then John's last wave was definitely not an 817 or whatever he got, but they switched around. John won the heat, but they had to like bodge around some scoring, um, which ruined the day for me. Like it didn't ruin the day, sorry. It just took the conversation away from, wow, like
Who's the best?
Italo's really lighting this up to like what's the judges up to?
I
But
wouldn't have given. I wouldn't have given. I didn't see it live, and then I had to come back and look at it. I don't know if I would have given him the score. I don't know if he won that heat, but I mean, he still won. Like as a footnote, listeners, before the event started, I'd spoken to Matt, and he was giving me some of the odds because I can't bet legally in this country, or I don't know how. I can't find it. And anyway, so I put me tenner on. Um, I put Matthews tenner on Italo and Caroline to win, and I'm telling you, I didn't really care if I lost the tenner or not. But I'd also spoken to Joel Gray, ex UK team coach,
coach.
earlier that morning, who's an Italo fan, and I said to you, remember, I said I just don't think they'll let him win. I don't want to be conspiracy. 5 heats. I mean, John like was leading the tour. It kind of would have been Brad press for him, even though I think John won. But I just don't know how. Poor old Italo in this WSL headquarters in California. It's it's you really got to be, I don't know, an outstanding winner to get past him. Even would they? I think there's more chance of Gabrielle coming from fifth, just just politically with his 14 million followers than there is of Italo. And that sucks.
Yeah,
Personally.
maybe, but then I think Italy's probably seen better on the inside of the WSL than Gabe is, like with because Gabe's had his blow ups at judges and stuff like that. But yeah, that was the interesting point of the day because it was quite funny because I was moaning about the results on heats, and then at the same time we were still laughing because we're like, well, we're still on to win because the odds for people to the odds Daz had a tenner on it and he would have won 350 quid back, and so which is not to be laughed at. And we were we were kind of like, well, even though like or I was like, oh, I don't know if Italo should have won that heat, but bet rolls on. And that was quite a funny, interesting thing. What I wanted to ask you about before I forget about it, what did you think about the old? Jack Robinson pulling Ethan back when they're paddling kind of situation.
No, pulling a Talo back.
Sorry,
I didn't.
Tyler.
I only saw it on the Instagram little video. I didn't even see that. I thought that was pretty, pretty cool. If he got in his road and he wanted to have a crack at it. I mean, it's not new that that's happened, but Jack's quite competitive. Do we
Uh,
go in talking about Jack there? He's just can't. He just can't. He just
Jack,
can't match himself to Trestles. I think he'd need to spend 2 or 3 months there. I
yeah,
think it's
he
so
just looked.
scientifically alienated from what he's all about.
I thought from the moment he ran in front of Italo off of the thing, I thought if I was Italo, I'd be buzzing because he just looked rattled. He looked like he was trying to almost
Sell
have
it up
like
to
a
the crowd or something.
yeah. I thought it looked like he was trying to have like a fucking like dick swinging competition. Um, when that's not his jam, and everyone's like, oh, Jack Robinson, Zen, 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 and all this. Like, he looked the least Zen person there. Like Italo looked calmer than him.
Yeah, you're
Um,
right. And he didn't look zen on the waves either, did he?
no, he surfed shit. He surfed like honestly, like that was like it looked like he was like me and Italo was like Harry Timpson when we go surfing together because like one looked like a pro and one looked bad. I thought he surfed like safety surfing and like the I don't know if it's like commentators curse or something, but like the whole day everyone was like Jack's an ice cool warrior, he's the Zen master, he's the one who's most in touch with the ocean, he'll have the best wave choice and the best decision on what waves to take. It was like the complete opposite. He surfed terribly. Um
I just think it just so doesn't suit him, that place where you literally don't even have to paddle to catch the waves. I've seen Parisa Hennessy catch a couple of waves where, like, it's the opposite of here, where you nearly, where I live, where you feel like you nearly break your back and your shoulders and your head and tweak yourself just to catch a wave. Where there, they don't even have to take a couple of strokes. They just
yeah,
turn and just take off.
yeah, 100%. And yeah, I was just really disappointed in Jack. I feel like he surfed exactly how he surfed like last year, which was just badly. Um,
Be be disappointed in it as a it should be part of the tour. It's a fantastic showcase for um not only trick surfing but also flow surfing. Kelly always won at Trestles by being able to light a wave up on the outside but still go all the way to the end and do, like, finish with an air reverse right down the bottom, which Trestles is renowned for. But it's just lacking so much
drama.
critical
Yeah,
the critical aspect that it's just hard to see why that should be. We don't even need to talk about that. We just say that all the time. We'll see
yeah,
next year, because maybe next year it'll be the opposite with Cloudbreak, where someone straight off the start of the final, even though it's best of three, could get a 10-second barrel, and then there could be none others for the rest of the heat. So
yeah,
does that decide your world champ?
exactly. And also, like next year, you could have like, we saw it at Chopu this year, and we saw it a little bit at Fiji. Like you've got the added element of like someone could go over the falls first wave and hit their head like bit of blood or snap a leash, and you might lose like they could lose like 5 or 6 minutes of a heat because a leash snaps, and they've got to like do the board change and get their board back, and like it's going to add a completely different element and different spice to it, which is going to be really interesting. Um, if the waves show up, obviously that's always the case. Um,
What's your opinion on Chris Cote doing like a boxing world boxing champion introduction before? It's just disgusting.
well, yeah, I'm glad you said that because actually I wanted to speak about the whole commentary of the day, but the Chris Cote thing is
It's not
one of
his decision. I'm sure he's
well, no,
been
yeah, I'm sure he doesn't want to do it. He's
on the
actually a pretty
board of
good guy.
directors.
I quite like Chris Cote, but it's like I'm pretty certain every surfer hates it. It's weird.
I've never seen anything
Re
so cringe-worthy in my life.
it's really weird when they do it for the first couple of heats when there's like not as many people on the beach as well. It's like he done a couple of things where he's like, make some noise, and there's like two people like golf clapping, and you're just like, fucking hell, this is so awkward and horrible. But that was another one of the disappointments I had for the day was some of the previous finals days, some of the best parts of it has been that they had like good commentary, and they've had like Ronnie Blakey, and they had Kelly and Mick that one year, and I remember they had Pete Mel, and he done like really cool stuff. This year, the commentary was basically cheerleaders. They didn't, other than Richie Lovett, and it was hilarious actually. Jesse Mendez and Richie Lovett were pretty good, but every time they broke down a wave and they were like, "Oh, I think this is going to change the heat," the judges would bodge the scores, and then they were like all in like a big reverse paddle type. Oh, kind of. It was awkward, and then like half of them were just they weren't even talking about the surfing or what was going on. They was talking about like just repeating stuff like, "Oh, Brisa Hennessy's family is really nice," and stuff. You're like, "Cool."
Yes, it's pathetic. Let's
Like
send them to as like a English cricket commentary school where they actually bring up legitimate and relevant statistics and
yeah.
everything else.
There
Yeah,
was a
that
there
is,
was a great there was a great one there where they pulled off this heat head to header, and like it was like um they'd surfed against each other once back in 2003, and like it just wasn't relevant, and I was just like, what are these people talking about? And then like I said, Jesse Mendez was quite good, and he would talk about and he'd talk about like the boards or whatever, and he just got nothing back because the people he was talking to weren't giving him anything back from it.
did they actually even did that? I didn't hear him talking about boards. I did see that
No.
or read that Caroline was gonna ride exact replica of last year's, and despite the online to a small extent onslaught of her style, the way she does her arms, I reckon I kind of dig it. I don't
I
know.
think I,
I
I
kind
think
of dig it.
Caroline.
She's that big backhand hell wax, which okay, you shouldn't score 8/3, so maybe she's got to start looking for variety. But I don't know why you would. She's number two in the world. Last year she was number one.
I think Caroline's gnarly as I think she like position. She does the turns in like a proper part of the wave, and
Yeah,
she
she does
throws.
hell backhand Rio's
Yeah,
right spot.
and she never falls. Like she's sick. They talked about board talk, like because I was hoping they would talk about it more. They mentioned that Ethan's got a couple little bit more liters, but didn't that was it. They didn't say anything else. And then they mentioned that John's on a red tiger. That was basically it.
What side
Um,
did they say? What length of board he was on?
6-0, 6-0,
6'0".
6-0.
He's taller than me, so I think he is. What is he?
He's John 6'2".
So he's taller than me. I think I don't know if I'm 6'1" or whatever. In centimeters, what is that? 185 or something?
Not sure.
That's how hopeless we are, listeners. Anyway, so that's a pretty short board, but it was only 4 foot.
Yeah,
So if
but
that hack he did, if he had have just pulled off after that hack, would he have still got a nine?
he should have done 100%. Like,
So
I mean,
like the .7 he got for the kind of forced little weird Rio after it on the inside on a lame section. I guess that's just to show that he can then ride out.
yeah, yeah.
That
I
it?
agree with you. Is that one that
Complete the wave.
yeah, I completely agree. That one turn was 9, and then the rest of it was just like a little token
Point
to get to
seven.
point 7. Yeah.
I
Um,
guess you need
yeah,
every bit.
that
Excuse me.
I that turn that John done on that 9-7, I shouted at my TV. Like it was the
Yelled
best
at him.
it was the best turn of the day. probably top three turns of the year, along with his run at Margaret River and maybe Molly's run at Sunset. Um, it does baffle me that someone his size, like how tall he is, how much he weighs, knowing that like it's not a super powerful wave, like he threw absolutely everything into that, and the spray went miles. It was nuts, and then he rides out of it. I'm like, wow. Because it must be hard not to overpower that wave for him because he's obviously he is so powerful. I just thought it was incredible.
I like the slow-mo they did where actually they showed how much water displaced and how much inside the wave he was.
Yeah.
There's only one other surfer in the world that can do that. We already spoke about him, Ethan. It's just a pity. I'd like to see them two come head to head in some sort of comp over the next year or so. Like J
Mm.
Bay, if it's back on tour next year, like it's
Yeah, that would be good.
supposed to be. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be sick to see it pumping J Bay.
Who
Those
are
two.
you let down? Oh,
Griffin.
so yawning listeners, but it's been a long year.
Let
Um,
let I
apart,
was let
apart
down
from
most by
Jack,
Griffin.
I was really disappointed by Brisa Hennessy, honestly, and Molly. It just
Yeah,
looked like I had no read on the wave whatsoever.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Was
Molly
it
was
just the
one.
occasion?
Molly's a weird one for me because um she's like again touted to be this like super fiery, gritty, like fighter, like will do anything. She just looked tame, like she looked like really tame, and Tatiana absolutely waxed her. Like and I thought Tatiana was like
She's a pretty good comp surfer, Tatiana, isn't
she
she?
was sick. She was so good. I thought her and
Doesn't fold
Ito,
under pressure. She's a fighter. She's tenacious.
yeah,
She's
her and
actually
Italo done
turned
that.
into top three women competitors over the last 10 years, really. That's not won a
Yeah,
title.
definitely. I even loved the way that her and Italo were both doing it. They were making sure they were going on the left when the other people were going on the right, like just to I don't know, like even if it was just like clever, like gives the surfer
I guess
something
it
else to
keeps
think
it
about.
keeps them in rhythm, and you
Yeah,
could get a good one there, and it's quick straight back to the peak.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, but Molly I'd say was a disappointment. And for me, Griffin was a disappointment. I felt like he surfed so safely. And I
Yeah,
think,
a little bit slow. It's wild because
yeah,
we did a podcast. I don't know how many back where there was a video on him surfing trestles. I think it was in the Lost, one of Biolis's 5.7.6 2.5 inches whatever fish video, and it's the best surfing I think I've ever seen.
yeah,
At the time, just complete with airs, calves, flow, everything, and he just maybe he should have rid that fish.
yeah. I think like what really highlighted it to me was when John like went out, just even in that first heat before he done that hell turn, John looked like more risk taking than
He went for
Griffin
the
did.
air straight away, which
Yeah,
he had to, didn't he? After
yeah.
Tarlac did it all day.
And that's why I give credit to Italo. Like I say, I'm the first person to say I don't like Italo's style of surfing. Like that's, but I can respect it. Plus, how much would we all laugh if Italo didn't go to the air and tried to go rail to rail with Griffin or with Ethan? We'd be like, "Oh, he's stupid." Like he used his strength against Ethan and beat him, against Jack and beat him, and against Griffin. But Ethan's like got a little asterisk against it. But Griffin, like in the warm-ups, like one of the questions we had sent in that we said we'd talk about was someone said, was the warm-up the day before with couch surfing better than the actual day? And like Griffin looked like a different person. He looked like he was surfing in worse waves. He was surfing quicker, more free, more risk. And I
I
just,
didn't see that. I only saw that like one I thought I sent you where it just looks so small and Atalo just looks so much faster than them. But he's a half a foot smaller than them as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, he is
Helps.
small.
Helps if it's 2 foot.
But yeah, so for me, I just felt Griff was a little bit disappointing. I thought he would be a bit more aggressive on the day, but he wasn't, and that is what it is. Um,
Flamboyant.
and then obviously to move over to it, I thought Katie and Caroline looked like they were a whole different league above any other of the
Oh,
women.
they were so far above the other two. I agree there. So far. I mean, who have you got? You've got Carissa, who's retired. She could have had a bit of a crack there. Um, Steph, she probably would have won it. Steph, honestly, if she was there, top three, she could have because Caroline is. I mean, Katie is insane, but she's still a bit smaller than Steph. So Steph would have been able to. Use a little bit more of the size and what do you call it when you extension? What do you call it?
Lev well, like
Leverage.
leverage, yeah.
Leverage to get maybe a little bit bigger scores, which is what I thought Caroline was going to do to her. But she just managed to be able to put a little bit back that variety. And there was one or two turns where she did. So boards must be small where she just smoked. She's just an incredible surfer, isn't she?
Yeah, yeah. How Chris
Well, a
Borst,
kid, man. What is she? She's 18. It's just
18.
crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And let's piss Joel Tudor off by saying she's the youngest world champ ever. Because Joel Tudor after has done a post about is it Margot Egberg, and how she was a longboard champ or something like back in the day. Um, he must be just a proper grumpy old dick skin. Um,
What do they have to say best ever for her? Can't they just say 18? Well, but people like titles, don't
well,
they?
they were just saying is that she's the youngest ever, but like she's the youngest ever professional world champion. Like because when the other person won, it wasn't professional.
Wow, man. She's 18. What was Caroline? 19.
19, yeah, and
She's only.
She beat Carissa Moore by like 5 days. If it had gone to the end of the waiting period, she wouldn't have got it. That's how close it was. But yeah, I thought the Caroline Katie heat, the first heat, was like the best heat of finals
That's
day
probably the best
ever.
heat of the day, wasn't it? That was a pretty good day.
I think that's the
That was
best
a
heat
big.
I've seen. Like, what was it? It was 9-6 and an eight playing at 8-3 and at 8-5 or something. Like,
In the last minute, which is really clutch surfing, which is
yeah,
why we watch it. You don't watch it so you can see two people get a hell wave and then there's no wave coming.
eight
It's
seconds to go, she got that wave and she got a 9-6. And
you had a question, so
yeah, so
about non-endemic sponsors, all this stuff,
let me
right?
read it. I'll read it out so everyone gets the full.
Because I want to answer it.
Yeah, so really cool question sent in by a guy called Andrew. Um, and thanks so much. And he said, bit of a question for the insiders. The aim for finals day was to bring a bigger audience, which I'm sure it does to a degree, and reach non-surfers, but nothing has really changed, I kind of think. If you look at the sponsorship that each surfers represents, it's still coming from action sports. A couple of exceptions like Kanoa and Leo, but they are big stars rightly so in their respective countries. Molly, I think, has Cadbury's, which might be the only exception. We're also coming off the back of the Olympics. I'm just a bit surprised that more companies haven't connected with surfing. Lexus did sponsor Finals Day, which I saw, and that will be something. Will they be there next year, though? Anyway, hopefully you will answer my question. Love the podcast. So sick for the question. Thanks so much. Real interesting
Right.
question as well.
Here's my take on it. We've got the Quicksilver Festival here in what 2 weeks' time. It's used to be way bigger because it was a Quicksilver Pro, which is a World Tour event. Um, I've got a surf house, let's say bed and breakfast hotel, not even 100 meters from where they're doing it. No, they're doing it right in front this year, just down to the left. Now I've still got empty beds, and me alongside my partner's Pure. we've been pushing it along Insta and everything, and I'm telling you, there was like 36,000 views on this little one I did because I paid for it, but there's still a lot of views, and I've still got beds, and I'm just left with the impression that the general public doesn't give a rat's ass, full stop, about competitive surfing or even surfing competitions. So why they keep pushing and thinking doing this stuff to get them is going to get them is beyond me because I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think in answer to Andrew's question and in relation to what you're saying, I think there is um a desire to make the sport as big as it possibly is and go real, real big. And I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but if you listen to the Lipped podcast, um, the guy who runs that, James, is a fucking intelligent guy, and he says that basically surfing is currently on this level. I think it's at like 4.9% growth, right, across the world, um, projected up to 2032 or something. It's tiny, tiny compared to like skateboarding is at like 30%, and other extreme sports, climbing, the climbing that's at the Olympics, that's at like 80% growth. Like, and it's because surfing is such like, a climbing wall.
So you're a company, you're going to say, well, look, I'm going to go sponsor the low cost dude, this guy,
Yeah,
because it's so easy for someone to watch. You turn it on, the guy goes from the bottom to the top, and you go, wow. And
yeah.
surfing, they do it, and you go, was it wow? Oh, he's got to get a score first.
And also
They
with
don't
surfing,
understand it, man. They don't
no.
understand it. They're never going to understand it. And what do they understand? Surf, sex, and sun, like the Gazbo. How come I can't remember his name? Sergi Gainsbourg song. It's being at the beach. It's the incredible feeling of being in the water. It's the allure of guys or girls in small outfits or not. It's also the absolute sensation it gives you when you're surfing. It's such a challenge. It's all these things. It's not about watching and trying to understand what these people, like even the dudes that are commentating it, don't understand it or can't communicate it to us. So,
Yeah,
how's Joe Blow or Jeremy Blow or Rachel Blow supposed to understand any of it?
yeah, exactly. And I also think like surfing's such a weird thing as well, where there's so many different avenues to be influenced by. If you take other sports, for example, football, you don't have free surfers and like competition. Sorry, you don't have freestyle footballers and competition. Like freestyle footballers are a complete circus act. You're influenced by Cristiano Ronaldo and by a club, whereas I might be more influenced by Dane Reynolds and Craig Anderson than I would be by Leo Friavanti. Like I don't own a single piece of Gucci, and I don't want to buy a single piece of Gucci, but I would buy a Dane Reynolds hoodie, and I've got one. Like, um, because I like the brand and I like what the brand
Where
stands
did
for.
you get that from?
America.
What, you got it shipped from America to you?
Yeah, I got a few friends. I had a couple of things sent from America recently, Daz, and which we'll talk about on another poddy. But yeah, like in relation to the question, is it's so hard for a brand to be like, oh, I'm going to sponsor you because has will the red tiger sale go through the roof because John's just won a world title at Trestles?
It's a
Maybe,
good question. I read an
maybe.
article
But
on
did Cale Brock sell over £1 million worth of Inferno 72s off the back of his YouTube video? Yes, quantifiably. And one of them's world title and one of them's Cale Brock. Like, so it must be very, very difficult for a brand to try and even like, at the end of the day, they're businesses and they're going to be asked
where are
by
they
the
going to put their money?
boxes.
Where are they
Yeah.
going to put their money?
And can you get a return on, can you guarantee a return? What is like the gamble one way or the other?
I saw some bloke having a tried to slag off Sally Fitz because um
Yeah,
she's
I
got a
saw that.
whole bunch of sponsors and Matthias Gertie. hasn't. I just don't think the guy understands. Like,
Yeah, you're right. Like Sally Fitzgibbons is like she's like the well, I guess she's an anomaly, first of all. But secondly, she's like she works so hard, she'll do like heaps of obligations and like I'm pretty sure she holds a record for like 45 quarterfinals or in a row or something like or
hey,
better.
I'll put my finger on it. She's politically correct.
Yeah,
She's media savvy. She's sponsor savvy. She's got the look. She brushes her teeth. She's not trying to be edgy, and she keeps winning. So if
yeah,
you're going to a sponsor, she's ticked every single one of the boxes because she's not going to Former or Volcom or whatever. She knows what she's doing, and that's how come she's got a shitload of sponsors. And if you're a guy and you want to do the same thing, that's what's going to happen.
100%.
But
And
first, keep winning all the time.
And I can also imagine that I guarantee you she is very easy to work with a brand. I bet you if you, as a brand, if you said, okay, here's our deliverables that we need you to do in the next, like every month, one of this, do this, do this. I bet you it's delivered, signed, sealed, wrapped with a little packet of donuts on the top as well. She ticks.
Maybe I remember rumors back in the day with Roxy. Sorry to jump in with some inside information that she actually was hard to work with, but it was in a different respect. I think it was more that she was hard to work with for the team managers because she just didn't want to. She didn't want a bunk room with her competitors.
Mm,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
she was doing her own thing. She
yeah,
was, it's not like she wasn't walking around saying, "Oh, we're a bunch of happy-go-lucky." She was there to win, and that's why obviously she kept
yeah,
winning. But
exactly.
that's the problem with. I mean, if you want non-endemic, that's that the word sponsors.
Yeah.
You got to be like Sally, brush your teeth, put 100% into all that stuff. And if you're not gonna get them. And she's like you said, an anomaly because she's also in a country that loves sports people, but also only acknowledge winning sports people. Huh? Like
Yeah.
you're not going to put Noah Dean on telly there, and he's not going to get a whole lot of cred because they're quite conservative and right
Yeah.
wing and
And that's it. That's the industry. Like that's unfortunately it's the way that a lot of it's gone. Like I said a couple of episodes ago, where's the rock stars like and stuff. But then to be a rock star and
you got a
then
short lifespan as a rock star.
yeah, and to be a rock star and want someone to support you in that and to pay for it ain't happening. Like you,
Okay, so there's my other point on this thing of kids moaning, and I can understand them moaning because they want to do the world tour and they want to do this and they want to do that. But guys used to do it back in the day all the time with no money, and they were just
yeah,
traveling the world because they understood it was just a fun sport and it was pretty sick to travel the world and they weren't getting paid. They were traveling the world and actually doing something while they were traveling. Like my son's maybe as talented as them academically. There's no one giving me or us any help for
yeah,
him.
yeah,
He's just gonna get there and hopefully at 27, 28, he's going to make some money where they're wanting it when they're 14. Like,
yeah,
pick another sport. Pick another sport.
pretty much.
Do it
Uh,
because you love it and it's stoked to travel around the world, whatever. And if you're lucky because your parents are loaded, you're even luckier. And hopefully you appreciate that luck that they're giving you.
mm. Yeah, exactly. And you've got, I mean, it's a quite a good point as well. Like, obviously, like Aaron Brooks, old man's minted, flew around the world, whatever. Like,
Is
great.
he minted? Is
Mm.
he minted?
Yeah, he's sold out.
Thought so. He looks pretty weird with his beard. And he
Most
must be
minted
some
people
sort of
do.
extreme evangelist for her at that age to be spruiking off like she does.
I think he is, but I think he's minted while still doing it.
Think he's minted, or have you got
Mm.
proper information backing that?
Yeah,
How else would she have got to all these places as a
no, he's
12-year
minted. Yeah, he pretty much decided that's what he's gonna do. Yeah, he's minted.
like Kanoa's parents?
Yeah, maybe. Um, but it was kind of refreshing to see Katie, who's not, her mum's a nurse and her dad's a plumber or an electrician or something. And, you know,
There you go. Griff's parents are teachers, weren't they?
yeah. And it was quite refreshing to see Katie. Like, I love her. I think she's so great for the sport. I think she's amazing in her interviews and how authentic she is. And she's pretty straight up as well. And I think she's really cool.
It'd be good for her to retire
Already. Yeah. Um,
because she's
but
not like the others. She's not like other kids. She's
no,
not
she
like
is.
other kids.
And
So I
she,
just think it'd be a real. I just hope she doesn't get tainted.
yeah, I hope that like they don't try and change her or media train her or anything. Like, just let her be her. Moving on
Next
to
question.
the next question. We kind of touched on it, but it said Heat One scoring John versus Italo. Like, yeah, basically, I think you're implying it was fucked. That's a question from a guy called Leighton Spence. Thanks for your question. It was fucked, but the Heat result was, in my opinion, the Heat result was correct. That John was the
Yeah,
better setter in the Heat.
I hate that stupid argument that it's fuck. It's either fucked or it's not. Excuse my language. This is like that. You get the scores wrong. Yeah, it's not good.
But this is where it goes back to you. I said this a few months ago. Fucking scrap the scores. Have five judges watch two people surf for half hour and go, who was the better
Ha,
surfer?
yeah.
Like that's my view on it.
Try
Um,
get non Demonic sponsors to come to the party for that, Matt.
yeah, I know. And then Jonathan Weaver, been on the poddy, good old Jonathan, DB,
The
DBJ
Weeds
Jonathan. He came in to see you, didn't he, actually?
loves
Uh,
the coffee with no art, which is one of the things I like about Jonathan.
coffee
Can
with
enjoy a
no
coffee without a leaf on it.
coffee. No art coffee is the new art coffee. It's like the no claim claim.
You only got art on your coffee if it's got no taste.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's his
Exactly.
question? Jono?
So, so I'll slightly alter it to make it
Oh, that sounds
acceptable.
a little bit tainted.
It says, at what point did Darren fall asleep during finals day?
Yeah, like halfway through heat one of the girls. Was it guys first or girls first?
It was girls first, Molly and Tatty,
Halfway through heat two of the girls. Because I
Brisa.
saw that first heat. I left the computer open on the bed and I just lied down next to it. And
So
I thought, at least that way, if you wake up, you can hear it. And then I woke up. I did. It did. I woke up to change position. And luckily, somehow, then you're awake because I think I brushed my teeth. And I saw John's 9-7. So there you go.
nice. Probably you
That was
probably
pretty
woke
late,
up
though.
when
That
he
was what,
changed.
11:30, I
Yeah,
think.
your time it would have been, yeah.
I had to get up at 6:30 to go and take someone to the train station. So
That's a good effort. I Yeah, I didn't fall asleep. I would say that I don't know what percentage of the people on the planet that else done this, but I watched every single second of every single heat. Um, I'm quite ashamed to say.
congratulations on that. It's a good effort. I reckon if I had have done as okay, should they be testing? Should that be allowed to knock back six Red Bulls in a day if he does, or if it's just Toad Turple spruiking off because it sounds good on telly? Do you think Italo actually does drink that many?
Yeah, apparently he does. Apparently he is.
Well, I think that's kind of performance enhancing, to be honest.
Mm, I mean, in a way, yeah. Like, what did they do back in the day when they didn't have that stuff? Like, they probably did they. I mean, they
Or is
probably.
cocaine performance enhancing, and is that really that much different to Red Bull?
Yeah, I don't know.
But then where do you draw the line? A coffee?
Yeah, exactly.
It's only something you can inject, you can drink. If you've got a bad headache or you've got a bit of a cold, so you whack six Red Bulls in, I don't know. I just think it's
I
not
think it's a
only
little bit. I think it
I
is
think
a
it's
little
very
bit of the
dangerous.
I think it's a little bit of the Joel Tapel thing because even like two or three heats in, Tatiana Western Webb got asked like how is she going to keep her energy levels high, and she said in the interview, "Oh, I'll be having water and Rockstar because she's sponsored by Rockstar, which is an energy drink," and
Is
they
it
did
even unprofessional of them to fucking be talking about that during a heat?
yeah, not really. Um,
Would you hear that in the soccer or in the NFL or the NBA? Oh yeah, there he's just had 6 Red Bulls at halftime.
mm,
I don't
no,
know. I don't know.
no,
I think that was a bit dodgy.
yeah, um, just a bit weird. It's like it's like when you watch the X Games skateboarding, and like they a lot of them are sponsored by Red Bull, and they're all drinking out of water bottles that have got it's like a Red Bull water bottle, and you know they're drinking water. But the commentators aren't like, "Oh, I bet that thing's full up of Red Bull." It's like, no, it's not. Just shut up.
And okay, so that was like when they paddled out, I heard that. I thought that was very impressive. For Heat 2 of the men's, that was maybe when I woke back up or whatever. Italo had had 32 waves and John had had two.
Yeah, yeah,
That was crazy. That's a crazy statistic.
yeah. Um, I think they said there was another stat that um there was an event that Italo had got to the final in this year, and over the 5 whole days and the every round, he surfed like 29 waves in the whole event, and that was like obviously like 30 minute, well, yeah, 40 minute three man heat, 30 minute, and then like to the final, and then by the semi-final he'd pretty much eclipsed that, or by the final, the first heat of the final, he'd eclipsed that whole thing
How
in a
many
day.
how many people would like to get 32 fun waves in one day?
Well, if you go to Bristol, that's 120 quid in a shit wave pool.
Did he do any sort of shout out? I don't follow him or anything. Wonder if he do any sort of shout out to good on you, John, or anything?
Who is though?
Yep.
No.
I saw him and Griff have a bit of a hug at the end of that heat. I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit weird that it was going to be close, that Griff got the score on that as well. But we're backtracking there. Any more questions?
Um, Not really. Not that we haven't done.
Do you
I
think
did want
Carol do you think Caroline Marks has just got an amazing voice?
I just like Caroline
I
overall.
reckon she could be a radio host.
No, I mean I don't think many of them could be a radio host. I mean John Florence
I
does.
reckon she could be. She's got a radio host sort of voice for me. Listen,
Yeah, yeah.
listen to her interviews. Maybe she's not she's what, South Carolina or something like that originally.
Florida.
Florida.
Mm.
Oh,
I also did want to point out, I mentioned it earlier in a bad way, but I did want to say I thought Strider was really good on the day. I do think he's sick. And I liked it when he called out, like he
he
when he
called
sat,
out a judge score, didn't he?
yeah, he called it out and he was like, I'm in the water, and that wave was definitely higher than what he got at Rara. But I thought Strider was good. I like the insights he gave, and um yeah, he'll to a level he'll just chat shit because he's paid to, and then when it gets too far, he will call him out on it.
Could Geordie have done any damage on that day? We already know Gabrielle could have, of course. He was world title. He won it there. Would Geordie have been able to get out there? He's good at Trestles.
No, but Yago Dora would have.
Enough.
Yago Dora would have done damage.
Hmm.
Geordie wouldn't have, but I feel like Gabe and Yago could have been seriously scary.
Primetime Kelly could have won that day.
Um,
I
no,
reckon. Easy.
I don't think so.
I mean, I'm living in yesteryear, but I saw him win and beat it was different equipment. Taj. These guys have had the opportunity to be able to see what he did there to get there. Anyway, it's a pretty stupid question. Sorry.
It's not a stupid question, but
Who's my thought process there was who can be there next year in this five that we haven't seen? Because it looks like this five with Gab is kind of the nucleus, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Apart from you said Yago, is there anyone else that can break into that?
Someone would have to have like a Morgs year again. Like, could Sammy Pupo come back on? Maybe.
Can't
Um,
see him making final five. Can you see Kanoa? He was there
no,
once, wasn't he?
he was there once. Yeah.
I could,
No.
I could see Leo if he had some sort of crazy year, but it's going to get hard too. He's going to have to get his confidence back. And who's coming on?
Well, do you know who I was about to say?
Who's coming on in the Changers?
Well, it's not even about who's coming on the trainers. Felipe's back.
Is he?
Well, he's due to be back.
I don't reckon he will.
No, I reckon he's straight back in.
Well, we'll see. He's straight back in. He's got more. He's a better chance at cloud break than he is at Chopu. I think it's a different sort of wave.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I also don't think he's guaranteed making the top five though. If like when you look at this year's and how people have stepped up and the fact that John's fully fit, even though John might not do next year, Gabby hungrier than ever, Yagodora getting better and better every year. There's there is no guarantee that Philippe gets back in the top five
No, not if Pipe and Sunset just fire straight off
and Chopes.
and Chopes, J
Yeah,
Bay can win.
he
But
loves
the
good at
but
J-Bay.
guys like I can't see. You could throw water on my face. I can't see Felipe beating Ethan at 6 foot J Bay, even if he does two airs.
No, 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 no. I agree. No one beats Ethan at 6 foot J-Bay if it's clean. But
So
I can't see. I can see Felipe coming back on because he obviously his seeding would be off as well, um, and I could see him losing quite a few heats to people like Liam O'Brien at pipe. Like people like um,
he probably will come back on because he's got a few kids at home. He's probably
Aaron and stuff.
going to get eggy of the fact that he can't go for a surf all the time. And if you can just nick off to the other side of the country, you don't have to say to your missus like, "Oh, can I go for a surf?" You can say like, "It's my job.
Yeah,
Uh, That's
he's coming
paying.
back.
That's what's paying for the house."
Yeah, yeah, he's coming back.
And then on the women's, Aaron Brooks definitely on.
Not my call. I said it after she won Fiji. I don't think she's getting qualifying through the Changers. I don't think she.
She's too far back.
No, she's fifth. She's right at fifth at the moment. But there's Brazil and Portugal, and like the fields are so big. There's a lot of movement to come yet. So I'm not sure she. I think it's like a little bit of like an overhype thing, and she might need a little reality
How
check.
old is she again?
15 or 16, something silly.
There's no way the dad's not going to want her to go on tour and say, "Hey, take a
Yeah,
year
of
off."
course. No, no, she's different. She'll be straight on tour. If she qualifies, she's not taking the year off.
No, she's
Um,
not going. She's never going to school.
no, Isabella Nicol. I think it's at the moment it's like Sally Fitz, Bella Kenworthy. She's the new one.
But Sully's definitely back on.
Yeah, Sally.
Her career, she could just do both tours every year.
I know. And yeah,
One stage you'll run out of gas, you think?
Isabella Nichols is pretty much requalified, so she's there.
Oh,
Yeah,
Julian Wilson.
yeah.
We never
That's
spoke about this.
that's on the Challenger series, not even on the World Tour.
Any chance?
Um, No, not in
Still
Challenger
got
Wave.
another, like, it might all sound exciting now for him at the moment because he's come out with the announcement. But thing it's still another year.
Yeah.
or it even mean anything in another year and a few months. It's a long slog.
Yeah, for sure.
Who knows? He's got nothing else to do. I don't. I guess, and he can
Pretty
afford
much.
it.
Yeah. Um, no, just yeah, not high
Was
hope.
there anyone else on the tour? We forgot about it because it's so long. Like fuck, people like Jacob Wilcox who could have made such an impression, and he probably would have surfed pretty good there at Trestles. His
Mm.
backside backhand.
I think he looks like he's in a pretty good position to requalify. Um, George Pitar looks like he will get on tour. Could could easily stay on. Very, very good surfer. Um, and then it's just a bit shit. Like I think, do you know what? Loads of people have commented. Loads of people have sent in reactions to your three strikes and out for the Challenger series. Once you've qualified for the World Tour and then fallen off three times, you're never allowed back on. Um, because at the moment you've got people like Ian Gouveia and Alejo Muniz and stuff that they're just fuck it, it's just gonna be. I'm sorry, but it's just gonna be shit.
Well, I understand. I don't want them to do. They don't want to be plumbers. Even though good money as a plumber, just probably they're just trying to keep the dream alive. But I think we've just about worn all those topics to
Please
death.
do.
I
I
got
think it's
one
time.
interesting two things I wanted to say before you can wind us up. And I heard some podcast where they were talking about blah 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 whole foods, keep yourself healthy with whole foods, which is a no-brainer. One, and it just happened to come within a day where I also read an article in the New York Times about the massive correlation between highly processed foods and heart disease and cancer. Uh, Lost an older brother to a heart attack. One of the biggest factors in the French being reasonably healthy and well known for food is that a meal will revolve around actually having, for example, tomatoes which you slice up, carrots which you grate up. You do the whole foods. It's a no-brainer. That's it. I mean, it really doesn't take that long. Once you get used to eating it, it's really good. It's got more flavor. Uh, so there you go. That was one thing, and I forgot the other thing while you tell us something.
I wanted to bring up. Stab posted an article about the worst waves in the world, which we won't actually talk about the article, but one of the comments left was by Bethany Hamilton.
Most overrated waves in the world, not
That was
worst.
it. And Bethany Hamilton commented saying, Stab has lost its OG raw vibe. So soft. Who's running it now? And I thought that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, coming from her, they interviewed her at one stage, didn't they? For the
Yeah, and I don't quite get her thing on it, on her hate on it. Plus, I thought she was like a person of the Bible, where
get
is
it
it not
anything.
is it not like you shouldn't be talking bad about thy neighbor and shit? I don't know, I haven't read it. I've read Harry Potter
Weird.
instead. But
Hey, but I remembered my other thing that I'll spit out before I get back into Alzheimer's stage is use of the word process. If you start using it, it's all in the process and all that. If you hear yourself saying it, stop,
yeah,
zip it. We don't want to hear process. Leave that for fucking Joe and whoever, Felicity, Flick or whatever for their things, or an American. I hope we've got American listeners, but American like uh, self-help video on YouTube. Don't
yeah,
use it in real life.
it's not a thing.
Don't use it in real life. And apart from that, thanks for coming, Matt.
Thanks
You
for coming, everyone. We will be back. We've got some guests coming up. Now we're clear of WSL. We've got some guests coming back. So and we're going to be in 3D in 11 days. So
I've
we
got a few confirmed guests down here now. Over the next couple of weeks, I can try and track them down.
Yeah, and we're going to be pestering people at the Quickie Festival as well.
Okie doke.
Au
Good
revoir.
evening. Au revoir.
Also,
If you want a room, if you want a bed, contact Matt on the Insiders. You get a good deal. You get food. You get dinner. You get breakfast. You get walking distance to it.
and you get no art coffee.
No art coffee. Bonsoir.